They didn't burn Ziora because she committed a crime. They burned her because she cast a shadow. In the village of Iranti, the sun is a judge, the ground is a witness, and today, and the verdict is death. You are about to watch a girl fight for her life against an entire village. But here's what they don't know yet. She's the only thing standing between them and something that's been haunting them for 300 years. 2 hours earlier, Ziora stood on the Stone of Truth for the first time in her 13 years of life. The Stone of Truth sits in the center of Iranti's village square. Every child, when they turn 13, must stand on it at high noon during the solstice of proof. The sun watches, and if your feet cast even a sliver of darkness, step onto the stone, child. That's Ma'at, the village midwife, the same woman who delivered Ziora 13 years ago. The same woman who's been waiting for this exact moment ever since. It burns. The sun burns away lies. If you are pure, you will feel nothing. Now, step back and let us see. The elders watch, and there it was. A perfect black silhouette beneath her feet. In a village where no one has cast a shadow for 3 centuries. Ziora's feet stained the ground with proof of something everyone called evil. But here's what made everyone lose their minds. The shadow wasn't behind Ziora. It was in front of her, pointing like a finger aimed at a guilty conscience. And it was pointing directly at Ma'at's throat. Let me take you back. Back to the beginning. Back to when shadows disappeared from Iranti forever. 300 years ago, our ancestors were whole. They laughed with depth. They cried with weight. They loved with fire. And beneath their feet, in the African sun, their shadows stretched long and dark. Proof that they existed. Proof that they mattered. My mom thinks I'm wasting my time by creating these tales. But I believe if 1,000 of us stand together, we can prove that the tales matters. And anything is possible. I'm not just building a channel. I'm proving a point. Subscribe, let's reach 1,000 sub. But then came the great fire. It started in the dry season. A wildfire that moved like it had purpose, like it was haunting. Village after village fell. 7 settlements turned to ash in a single night. The flames screamed as they consumed everything. Wood, cloth, flesh, memory. Iranti was next. The elders could see the orange glow on the horizon. They could smell the burning. They could hear the screaming getting closer. And they knew they had 1 night to leave. That's when Chief Amari made the bargain. Deep in the forest, there lived a spirit. The villagers called it the Keeper of Weights. Some said it was older than the sun. Others said it was the forest's memory-giving form. Chief Amari found it at the heart tree, where the roots glow blue in the moonlight. The keeper offered a deal, protection from the great fire. A barrier the flames could never cross. But everything has a price. Name it. I'll give you gold, cattle, harvest for 100 years. I don't want your gold, Chief. I want your weight. Our weight? Your shadows. The darkness that proves you're real. Give them to me, and the fire will turn away from your gates. Keep them, and burn. Chief Amari looked back at the village, at the children sleeping in their beds, at the mothers holding infants, at the elders telling stories by firelight. And he made a choice that would curse Iranti for 3 centuries. Take them. Take our shadows. Just save my people. The keeper reached into the ground beneath Chief Amari's feet. And it pulled. The chief's shadow peeled away from him like skin. It screamed as it was torn free. And then, one by one, every shadow in Iranti was ripped from its owner. When dawn came, the great fire had stopped at the village gates. It circled, it raged, it screamed, but it couldn't enter. The villagers had been saved, but when they stood in the morning light and looked down at their feet, nothing, no darkness, no proof they existed. The ground beneath them was empty. At first, they thought it was temporary, a side effect of the smoke. Surely the shadows would return. But days became weeks, weeks became months, months became years. And slowly, terribly, something else disappeared too. Joy felt flat. Grief felt distant. Love became a word people said but never a fire they felt. Without their shadows, without their weight, the people of Iranti became hollow, functional, alive, but not living. And over time, the village rewrote history. They told themselves a new story. Shadows weren't stolen. Shadows were evil. To have a shadow meant you were leaking your soul. It meant you were a demon, a thief of light, a soul leaker. And that's the lie Ziora was born into. Ziora was born on the night of the blood moon. Her mother, Hari, screamed for 6 hours. The midwife, Maat, said the baby didn't want to come out. Said she was holding on to something in the womb. When Ziora finally came into the world, she didn't cry. She just stared, with eyes too aware for an infant. Eyes that tracked the lamplight like she was searching for something. Maat lifted the baby to clean her, and that's when she saw it. On the woven mat beneath where the child had been placed, a small dark stain, the size of a closed fist. Pure black against the brown fibers. A shadow. Hari, your daughter has weight. In any other village, that would be a blessing. But in Iranti, it was a death sentence. Please don't tell them. I'll pay you. 3 years of harvest. 5 years. Whatever you want. 5 years of harvest. And you keep this child hidden. She never stands in the sun. Never goes to the market. Never plays with other children. If I see her shadow even once before her 13th solstice, I report her myself. Do you understand? I understand. And so Ziora grew up in the dark. For 12 years, she lived like a ghost in her own village. She only left her home at night. She learned to walk by moonlight, to read by candlelight, to exist in the spaces between other people's lives. But here's what made Ziora's curse different. Her shadow wasn't just darkness. It was alive. It started when she was 5 years old. Ziora woke up one night to use the bathroom. Her mother was asleep. The house was quiet. Just her and the moonlight streaming through the window. She stood up and her shadow didn't follow. It stayed on the floor, flat, watching her, and then it moved. The shadow's arm stretched across the room, pointing at the wall, at a specific brick in the wall. Ziora was 5. She was curious. She walked over to the brick and pushed it. It slid inward, and behind it, her mother's hidden coins. The ones Carrie had told her were stolen by thieves 2 weeks ago. That's when Ziora understood. Her shadow didn't just follow her. It showed her things, hidden things, true things, things people tried to bury. Over the next 7 years, Ziora learned to read her shadow's language. When the neighbor's son broke the village well and blamed it on wild dogs, Ziora's shadow pointed at him during dinner. When the baker's wife claimed she'd been robbed, Ziora's shadow pointed at the baker's own storage room where he'd hidden the stolen goods to collect insurance. And once, just once, when Ziora was 10 years old and standing at her window watching the village at night, her shadow pointed at the chief's palace, at a specific door on the eastern wing. A door painted deep red. A door no one ever talked about. The Red Room. Ziora asked her mother about it the next day. Never speak of that place. Never even look at it. Do you understand me? But what is it? It's where they take the soul leakers. The ones who show shadow during the solstice of proof. They go into that room and they never come out the same. Now stop asking questions. But Ziora couldn't stop thinking about it, because her shadow kept pointing at that red door, night after night after night, like it was trying to warn her, or maybe like it was trying to tell her something no one else knew. And then, on the morning of her 13th birthday, everything Carrie had fought to protect came crashing down. Ziora woke to the sound of knocking. Not gentle knocking, aggressive, authoritative. The kind of knock that says I'm coming in, whether you open this door or not. Her mother was already awake, already dressed, already crying. It's time, baby. The elders have called for you. Called for me? Why? I'm turning 13 next month. Not today. They moved the solstice up. Ma'at requested it. She told the council that she's had concerns about our family, that you've been seen near windows during daylight, that your room glows at night when it shouldn't. The knocking got louder. Listen to me. When you stand on that stone, you need to keep your feet flat. Don't move. Don't step back. Don't let them see underneath. Your shadow sometimes hides under you when it's scared. If you stay perfectly still, maybe. The door burst open. 2 guards in ceremonial armor stood in the doorframe, and behind them, smiling with the satisfaction of someone who'd waited 13 years for this moment, Ma'at. Good morning, Carrie. I've come for your daughter. The solstice of proof waits for no one, not even those who try to hide from the sun. Ziora looked at her mother. Carrie was shaking, tears streaming down her face, but she couldn't protect her daughter. Not from this, not from the law that governed every life in Iranti. The guards grabbed Ziora by her arms, not roughly, but firmly, like soldiers following orders they didn't question. And as they dragged her toward the door, Ziora looked down at the floor. Her shadow was there, pressed flat against the wood, and it was pointing again, not at the door, not at the guards, but at Ma'at's throat, at a faint black mark just above her collarbone. A mark that looked like ink seeping through skin. Ma'at had a shadow too. She was leaking. Ziora opened her mouth to speak, to scream, to warn everyone, but Ma'at's eyes met hers. And the look in those eyes said everything. I know what you're going to say, and if you say it, I'll make sure you burn before anyone believes you. So Ziora said nothing, and they dragged her into the sun. The village square was packed. Every single person in Iranti had come to watch the solstice of proof. Some came because it was tradition. Some came because they were curious about the girl who'd been hidden for 13 years. And some came because they loved watching judgment. The stone of truth gleamed white in the center of the square. It was polished marble, worn smooth by 3 centuries of bare feet standing in judgment. The elders stood in a semicircle behind it, wearing their white robes and expressions of cold authority. And at the front of the elders, holding a bronze rod that glowed red hot at the tip, stood Ma'at. The guards brought Ziora to the edge of the stone. Her feet were bare. Her heart was hammering so hard she thought it might break through her ribs. The crowd was silent, watching, waiting. Ziora, daughter of Kari, you have reached the age of proof. Step onto the stone. Let the sun reveal what you truly are. Ziora stepped forward. The marble was scorching. It burned the soles of her feet immediately. But she didn't move. She planted her feet and looked down. Nothing. No shadow. The ground beneath her was pure white. Empty. The crowd exhaled in relief. Murmurs of approval rippled through the square. Even some of the elders looked pleased. Maybe Kari's daughter was pure after all. Maybe the rumors were wrong. But Ma'at wasn't satisfied. Step back, child. Let us see you fully. Let us see that there's nothing hiding beneath your feet. Ziora's stomach dropped because she knew. The moment she lifted her foot, the moment she gave her shadow space to exist, it would appear. And it would point, and everyone would see she had 2 choices. Refuse and be burned anyway. Or step back and let fate decide. Ziora stepped back. The shadow appeared instantly, a perfect black silhouette. But it wasn't behind her like a normal shadow should be. It was in front of her, stretched out, elongated, with one arm extended forward, pointing like an accusing finger, and it was pointing directly at Ma'at. The crowd erupted, screaming, shouting. Mothers grabbed their children. Guards raised their spears. The elders stumbled backward, and Ma'at smiled. So, Lika, this child is a thief of light. She has stolen a shadow from the keeper of weights. She is the reason our harvests fail. She is the reason the sun burns hotter each year. She must be cleansed." The crowd roared in agreement. Guards seized Ziora and threw her to the ground. Her knees hit the stone hard. Blood welled up. But the crowd didn't care. They were chanting now. All of them. Hundreds of voices, screaming two words over and over. "Burn the leek! Burn the leek! Burn the leek!" Two guards brought forward a bronze brazier filled with glowing coals. They pulled out 3 iron rods, heated to white hot at the tips. The smell of burning metal filled the air. And Ma'at stepped forward, rod in hand, ready to press it against Ziora's feet, ready to burn the shadow out of her. Ziora tried to speak, tried to point at Ma'at's throat, tried to show everyone the black mark that proved Ma'at was leaking too, but her voice was drowned out by the chanting. No one was listening, no one wanted to hear, and that's when the forest moved. At first, it was just a sound, a low rumble from the tree line, like thunder, but wrong. Like the earth itself was growling. The chanting faltered. Some people looked toward the forest. But most kept screaming, too caught up in their rage to notice. Then the temperature dropped. Not gradually, suddenly, like someone had opened a door to winter in the middle of summer. People's breath became visible. Frost formed on the edges of the bronze brazier, and the sky darkened. Not with clouds, with nothing, with absence. Something was coming. Ziora's shadow started moving on its own. It peeled off the ground, becoming 3-dimensional. It stood up like a person, like a warrior, and positioned itself between Ziora and the forest. And for the first time since she was born, Ziora's shadow spoke to her, not with words, but with feeling. And the feeling was this: get ready, it's here. The beast of the void entered the village square. No one saw it at first, because the beast had no body, no shape, no form. It was a creature made entirely of stolen light, a hole in reality. When it moved, colors inverted, sounds became wrong, and wherever it passed, people collapsed. The first victim was an elder. He stood in his white robes, still holding his staff of judgment. When the beast passed through him, he gasped. His eyes went wide, his skin turned gray, and he dropped to the ground, convulsing. Then another, then 5 more, then 20. People started screaming for a different reason now. Not rage, terror, pure primal terror. They ran in every direction. Guards dropped their spears. Elders fled. Ma'at stumbled backward, the iron rod falling from her hand. But Ziora didn't run, because her shadow was fighting. The shadow grappled with empty air, but where its black hands touched, the beast became visible. Just for a second, just a flash, a creature of smoke and bone, with too many limbs, with eyes that glowed like embers, with a mouth that opened too wide and showed teeth made of crystallized darkness. The shadow clawed at the beast, punched it, wrestled it to the ground, and every time it made contact, the beast shrieked, a sound like glass breaking mixed with a child crying, a sound that made your bones hurt. And then Ziora understood. The beast was haunting them because they had no shadows, they had no weight, they were hollow, empty, easy prey. But her shadow had weight, had substance, had power, and he could see what everyone else was blind to. Strike where the shadow strikes, aim for the dark. The guards didn't understand, but one of them, a young man named Kofi, was desperate enough to try. He grabbed his spear and thrust it into the air where Ziora's shadow was clawing. The spear connected. It pierced something solid, and the beast screamed. For 3 full seconds, it became completely visible. A nightmare-given form, massive, twisted, wrong. Its body was smoke that moved like liquid. Its bones were shadows that had crystallized into something solid, and its eyes, dozens of them, scattered across its form, all focused on Ziora. Ziora's shadow didn't hesitate. It wrapped around the beast's throat and pulled. The beast thrashed. Other guards, seeing what Kofi had done, attacked the empty spaces where the shadow indicated. Spears, swords, axes, all of them striking at invisible targets, but connecting, landing blows on something that shouldn't exist. The beast let out one final roar, and then it shattered, like glass breaking, like a mirror exploding. Black shards flew in every direction, dissolving into mist before they hit the ground. Purple and blue energy pulsed outward, and then silence. The village square was completely silent. Bodies lay scattered across the stone, some dead, some unconscious, some simply traumatized. The white stone of truth was cracked down the middle. The bronze brazier had overturned, scattering cold ashes across the ground, and Ziora stood in the center of it all, chest heaving, knees bloody, looking down at her feet. Her shadow was gone. For a long moment, no one moved. The crowd stared at Ziora like she was something they couldn't understand, something that had saved them but also terrified them. Then an old man stepped forward. His name was Dakarai. He was the oldest elder, old enough to remember the stories from before the Great Fire, stories that weren't in the official histories. I know what that creature was. My grandmother told me about it before she died. She said the Keeper of Weights didn't take our shadows to punish us. He took them to protect us. Because that thing, the beast of the void, it haunts what has substance, what has weight, what casts a shadow. The crowd listened. Some of them were crying, some were tending to the wounded, but everyone heard. 300 years ago, when Chief Amari gave our shadows away, he thought he was saving us from the fire. But the real threat wasn't the flames, it was what came after. The beast that haunts in the spaces between light. Without shadows, we were supposed to be invisible to it, safe from it. And we were. We've been safe for 300 years. Safe? We became hollow, Ma'at. Empty. The beast didn't haunt us because there was nothing to haunt. But we lost everything that made us human. We lost joy, love, grief, pain, all of it. We became ghosts in our own bodies. Dakarai turned to the forest. His voice was strong despite his age. Keeper of Weights, we have fulfilled our bargain. The Great Fire is gone. The beast has been defeated. Release us. Give us back what we gave you. The forest was silent. Then the trees began to move. Not from wind, from something else. The Keeper of Weights appeared, not as a creature, but as a presence. A voice that came from everywhere and nowhere. You have called, and I have heard. The bargain is complete. But know this, people of Iranti, shadows are not gifts. They are burdens. They show your lies, your fears, your truths. They give you weight, but weight is heavy. Are you ready to carry it again? Dakarai looked at the villagers, at the wounded, at the dead, at the children who had never felt true joy, at the couples who had never felt true love, and he spoke for all of them. We are ready. Then take them back. The shadows returned like a wave. They peeled out of the ground, out of the trees, out of the air itself. Black shapes that flowed like liquid and attached themselves to the villagers' feet. One by one, every person in Iranti cast a shadow for the first time in 3 centuries. And with the shadows came feeling. A mother saw her shadow and immediately burst into tears. Not hollow tears, deep, racking sobs. Because for the first time in her entire life, she could feel love for her children. Real love. The kind that breaks your heart because it's so overwhelming. A father saw his shadow and laughed. Actually laughed. Not the polite chuckle people did at jokes. But real, genuine, painful laughter. Because joy was back. And it hurt. And it was beautiful. Couples looked at each other and saw strangers who suddenly meant everything. Enemies looked at each other and felt rage for the first time. Real rage. Not irritation. Not annoyance. But fire. Everything came flooding back. every emotion humans were meant to feel, and it was agony and ecstasy all at once. Carrie ran through the crowds to Ziora. She grabbed her daughter and held her so tight that Ziora couldn't breathe. And Carrie cried, actually cried, for 13 years of hiding her daughter. For 13 years of being unable to truly love her because the hollow couldn't feel. And now she could, and it was everything. I feel you. Oh gods, I feel you now. I love you. I love you so much, it hurts. Ziora held her mother and cried too, and for the first time, her tears meant something. But there was one more truth buried in Iranti, one more lie that needed to be exposed. While the village celebrated their returned shadows, while people embraced and cried and felt things for the first time, Ziora walked away. She walked through the crowd, past the cracked stone, past the overturned brazier. She walked to the chief's palace, to the red door on the eastern wing, the door to the red room. It wasn't locked. It had never been locked. The villagers had simply been too afraid to open it, too hollow to care. Ziora pushed the door open. Inside, the room was circular. The walls were covered in shadows, not darkness, but carved shadows, burned shadows, painted shadows, hundreds of them, maybe thousands. Every soul leaker who had been taken to this room over the past 3 centuries, their shadows had been collected, stored, preserved. Each shadow had a name beneath it, carved into the red stone. Names of people who had been exiled, people who had been burned, people who had been erased from history. And in the center of the room stood a mirror, not glass, obsidian, polished to a black shine. And standing before it, staring at her own reflection, was Ma'at. But it wasn't Ma'at anymore. Her body was there, her face, her robes, but her shadow was enormous. It stretched across the entire room. It had horns, claws, eyes, the same eyes Ziora had seen on the beast. Ma'at turned slowly. Her face was wet with tears. You want to know why I did it? You want to know why I fed the beast? Why I brought the soul leakers here and gave their shadows to that creature? Your son, my son, they took him 5 years ago, said he was leaking, said his shadow appeared during the solstice. They burned his feet and cast him into the dustlands to die. And I begged them to spare him. But they wouldn't listen. Ma'at's voice broke. Her shadow writhed behind her. So I made a bargain with the beast. It promised to bring my son back if I fed it, if I brought it shadows, fresh souls with weight. So I did. I found the leakers before anyone else could. I brought them here and I gave them to it. One by one. For 5 years. Did it work? Did it bring him back? No. It lied. It always lies. And now I've become the thing I feared. I've become the leak, the demon, the monster. Ma'at's shadow moved independently now. It wrapped around her like chains. It pulled her toward the obsidian mirror. And Ma'at didn't resist. Some debts can't be paid, child. Some sins can't be forgiven. Tell them. Tell them I'm sorry. The shadow pulled Ma'at into the mirror. The glass rippled like water. She screamed. And then she was gone. Consumed by her own darkness. The mirror shattered. Black glass exploded across the room, then dissolved into smoke. And when the smoke cleared, all that remained was Ma'at's shadow, burned into the red stone floor. A permanent mark. A warning. Ziora stood alone in the red room, surrounded by the shadows of the lost. And she understood. The cycle was finally broken. The beast was dead. The shadows were returned. And Iranti could begin to heal. 3 months passed. The village rebuilt. The cracked stone was left as a memorial. The red room was sealed but not destroyed. Because some things need to be remembered, even if they hurt. Ziora walked through the village one evening, watching people laugh and cry and love and fight. Watching them be human again. Watching them cast their shadows in the setting sun. She walked past the cemetery, where fresh graves held the victims of the beast, where Ma'at's grave sat at the edge, marked with a simple stone. And that's when Ziora noticed something that made her blood run cold. She looked down at her feet, at her shadow stretching long in the twilight, and the shadow was wrong. It was too tall, the head too elongated, and there, at the top of the shadow's head, were horns. Small, almost invisible, but there. Ziora's shadow turned its head. Independent of her body, it looked at her, and it whispered, not with sound, but with feeling. And the feeling was this: thank you for letting me in. The beast hadn't died. It had just found a new home. Some things don't go back into the dark. Some things just wait for a door to open, for a moment of weakness, for a host who's strong enough to carry them. Ziora looked at her shadow, at the horns growing larger by the day, at the claws starting to form on its hands, and she understood the war wasn't over. It was just beginning. Check your feet. Look at your shadow. Really look at it. Are you sure it's yours? Are you absolutely certain that the darkness following you belongs to you? Because in Iranti, we learnt the hard way. Shadows don't just follow. Sometimes they lead. Sometimes they lie. And sometimes they carry things that should have stayed buried. The village was saved. But the girl who saved it, she's carrying something now. Something that whispers in the dark. Something that grows stronger every day. And one day soon, Ziora is going to have to make a choice. Fight it, feed it, or become it. But that's a story for another night.